You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello, I like Disney. That is all I want to talk about is Disney, Disney Plus, and Bob Iger. That is all I like. I will only watch Disney movies. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson. That's right, live every single Tuesday night right here on the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. I'm one of your hosts alongside our other normal new hosts, Sean Sebastian and Keith Cheatham. He did it! Oh my gosh, he's a real human being.
Daylight savings time has ended, so Keith has come out.
Oh, wow, it just I didn't realize that's what it took.
That's what it takes.
Yeah. Wow, he's a real human being.
We fell back, and now it's time to emerge.
You've emerged like from your mother's womb.
Fallen back.
Oh.
Emerge. Ooh, that smells good.
Like you're coming out of your mother's birth canal.
I can't say for the taste.
Hold on.
Not yet.
But it smells nice. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! As soon as it hit me in the face.
Yes, it does. As soon as you open it.
This
it's
is
a good
from
smell.
our lovely friend Neil in Boston.
Neil Bog.
Neil
of Eternal
Bog.
Stench.
I'll hold it up to the camera here so everybody can see. It is called a Heady Topper.
Mm-hmm.
Heady Topper is the name. Alchemist
Vermont
is the brewing company.
Oh, Neil's watching. He
He's
says,
watching.
Cheers, gents.
Oh, he wants
Nice.
to see how we think.
The back sold me.
Are you popping the top on one of these two, Neil?
Yeah. Does he have one? Is he joining us?
Are you going to toast
I
with
think
us, Neil?
I think there were 4 in the pack.
He said, I hope it's not too bad.
It's a double IPA.
It is a double IPA,
Yeah.
but the back says it's not the most like it sells it as being
8%
a
alcohol.
good flavor. We're going to see.
He
Are
says
you- are we
yes,
ready?
joining in. He's
All right.
having one.
Let's
have a
let's
sip.
go.
Cheers, guys.
Ooh,
That's
That is
actually
not-
not bad
yeah.
at all.
that is not too bitter.
But
The back on the back, yeah.
Yeah,
there
it
it is.
hits.
It has
Yeah.
hops at the.
It's
but
hoppy, but it's not bitter.
But that's what it's like. Yeah, because they talk
I
about
dig it.
the
It's pretty
hoppy
smooth,
flavor.
I like the
I was
hoppiness.
scared because I
Because
don't
it-
like the double IPAs.
Oh, true.
Oh, I
But
get it.
that's different.
Because it does say drink out of the can. They're very adamant. They say you can pour it in a glass, but that releases some of the hoppy aroma that affects the flavor. So
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Usually
Okay.
they're worried.
that's what the
because
instructions on the back says.
you
It's
get
like,
the metallic taste from the beer usually. When
well,
you
no, the
drink out
can
of
is the most pure. That's remember when we
No,
went
no,
to.
but that's what I'm saying. Is that's what
good.
they told us? They said if you don't enjoy the metallic taste coming from a can, they said that's what you would still drink
could
from
pour
a
it
can,
in a
or pour it
glass.
in a glass.
But yeah, they say the can is the freshest taste.
but that's because the bottle still lets in a little bit of light, even though it's dark.
which affects the taste.
That's right.
That is good.
That is good. But it does. It hits on the back end, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, but
That's
that's not
good
bad.
though. I dig it. The
I
Alchemist
definitely, yeah.
Stowe Vermont. So wait, I'm curious now. If Neil's in the comments, we all like the beer, but Neil was. So wait, is this brewed? It says Vermont. Obviously, it's not brewed in Boston. Then is it? Like what?
No, he got it when he went to.
Yeah, they went to Vermont.
Okay, so how did you? Was this something that you were led to? That somebody gave you like hey, yeah, try this out. You might like it. Was this a recommendation from someone in particular, or did you just say, hey, I'm gonna try that beer. That looks good. I'll get this for the guys.
I'm waiting for the answer.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you. It's going to be a great show.
It says
once I drink most of this.
keep
People
it cold.
in New England have been obsessed with this beer for a long time.
Okay, so it did kind of make
Yeah.
its waves up into that part of the world.
in New England. It
Up
says
there in
keep
New
it
England.
cold, but not ice cold. Which I hear for hoppy beers, they are supposed to be colder because it helps keep it from tasting so bitter. But
See, I would have
It says
figured that if
not
it was
ice cold,
really,
because
really
hot.
cold, it would make it more bitter.
So
or
No,
kill the bitterness.
yes,
It would
that's
kill
what I'm
the
saying.
bitterness.
That's what they're saying
Yeah.
is like not ice
And
cold.
if you want to
because-
preserve the bitter nature, I got you.
Said
That's
he
why
heard
you
about
were-
it 6 or 7 years ago, but it's taken him that long to get it to
Dang.
us.
Wow, that's
So,
surprising.
Yeah.
It's been it's like he went to Mordor to freaking go on a journey
Yeah.
to find this beer and bring it back through Rivendell through Lothlorien.
Not really
But
sure
6
why
or 7 years. It sounds like he got
Yeah.
stuck on the side of a mountain.
I'm just
and
not really sure
surrounded by
why
lava
this
and
turned into a Lord of
couldn't
the
get
Rings.
it to us for
I
a
was
while.
just trying to tie in Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
because I like Lord of the Rings.
The
I was just trying to
Eagles-
say it's been
The Eagles finally brought it to us.
It's just been a while.
The Eagles are coming.
No, thank you, Neil, for the wonderful goods here that we're going to enjoy through this episode.
Goods.
And also, thank you all for tuning in last week for our Halloween special. I was kidnapped by Bob Iger. He has released me. As I said at the beginning of the show, his tricks he might have thought worked, but they didn't. Because we're talking about Marvel Mayhem this week. Yeah, there's a lot of news that broke in between last week, actually 2 weeks ago, really.
Yeah.
But Sean, you're back.
I'm back.
I
I do want to say I told you in a text message, but I'm going to say it on the air. The Halloween special was very well done. I liked it a lot.
Thank you. I'm glad.
I've watched it 3 times. I thought it was pretty freaking funny.
Thank you. Great.
So
Good.
my
good.
favorite part was Bob Iger looking through the door and then shutting the door. That was amazing because it looked like a freaking cardboard cutout of Bob Iger.
So I was like,
it was so good.
I'm sitting there and I was shooting it, and while I'm shooting it, it's like if you listen to just the raw audio, I'm like, I'm just laughing because I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Great.
So no, it was fun. It was a good time.
I'm glad you had fun.
I'm glad.
I'm glad y'all could be a part of
neighbor
that.
got to be a part of it. That was
Yeah.
good. Brian,
I think, the
gorilla
actor who
was in
played
there.
Sasquatch or whatever. Yeah,
the
he was
gorilla
the best
man.
part.
I mean,
Yeah.
if he
Hands
doesn't
down.
win an Oscar for that role alone,
Right.
I mean, his on-screen debut, that was fantastic.
Yeah, that steady walk,
Yeah,
just
it made everything
unwavering. Yeah,
I didn't believe it was Halloween until he walked by.
that's
And that
did
sold it.
Yep.
That sold it. But yeah, no, I thank you all for giving over your all's talents. That was fantastic. You all were able to be a part of it, and I was thankful that we could make it, fun little time while we were all out enjoying our own trick or treating.
Yeah, we need
I think
to
there's
do
a
more
lot of
that.
thankfulness going on here, which is fitting for the month because
We're getting there.
You've said thankful about 3 or 4 times now, which is good. No,
Yeah.
I mean I'm not knocking you. I'm
Not
just saying
Eli
that,
Roth
that
thankful.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, is that going to be one of the movies we review this month?
I don't know what else comes out that weekend. We'll have to look.
We know what comes out this weekend.
Yeah.
We don't even need to say
What
its
was that
name.
one that Paul Giamatti's in? I do want to see that. It got made by the guy that did.
Oh, you texted it.
He made Sideways and The Descendants, and it's a new movie. It's a kind of a Christmas-based movie.
looks
Paul
okay.
It actually looks pretty decent. That
yeah.
comes out this weekend.
I'm trying to find the name of it. I'll
I'll
find
have
it
to-
during.
I'll have to
Go ahead and dig
find
that
it.
up.
Yeah, I'll have to find it again.
what comes out the 22nd? There's something big coming out the 22nd.
I know
That's got to be Thanksgiving with Eli Roth. That's
Is
got to
it?
be the week of.
I thought that was the week before. That's next
Is it the
weekend, I
week?
think. Is Thanksgiving is next weekend. Which
Really?
isn't the 22nd. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
movie comes out
wow.
next weekend, I think.
We're already moving. Man, we're moving through the month.
Yeah.
Already. But and it's weird because we couldn't fully escape the Halloween reviews.
We couldn't. Well, horror, I guess.
Right.
Excuse me.
Oh, and we all did our
Good beer.
civic
Yeah,
duty
yeah.
today.
Yeah, I did.
Did everybody vote?
I voted
Did you
today.
Vote? Hold on. There
I
it
did.
is.
I voted.
My
it
sticker's
is.
on my other shirt.
Oh, okay. We all voted.
Let's see. Oh, The Holdovers is the one I was talking about. With
That's
Paul
it.
Giamatti.
That's it.
That I do want to see. That comes out this weekend with the Marvels. Next week's
Napoleon comes out November 22nd.
That's it.
That's
the
the big
big
Napoleon.
one. Yeah.
Next
Ridley
weekend
Scott.
is Thanksgiving and Hunger Games, so I guess we could fight and the Trolls 3 because we did review Trolls too. So I guess we could fight over which of those 3
Yeah.
piles of garbage we want to see.
Equally crappy, probably movies.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of. I hate to say it. I really do.
Trolls.
I'm actually kind of leaning towards the Hunger Games.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't expect that
Really?
one.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking
Especially with Rachel
more
Ziegler.
forward to the Marvels than I am the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not looking forward to any of them. I'm just saying, if out of the 3 that I would like to watch and probably trash,
Is the Hunger
it's the
Games.
Hunger Games.
That's true.
See, I didn't personally mind Trolls so much because the first 2 weren't that bad.
No,
but-
I'm afraid I'll actually like Trolls.
Gotcha.
And I was gonna say,
'Cause I liked 1 and 2 for
I'm
the
not
most
gonna
part.
make fun of a kids movie.
Well, no, but
Just
I'm just
for the
saying
sake of
the
it.
fact that it would be of the 3, I thought it would be the most decent is the reason I was going with that, not to make fun of it. It's just out of those 3, it's like that one's probably going to be the best one.
I think we have reviewed.
We did 2.
World
I think
Tour and what
Yes.
was the other one? Did we do the original?
I don't think we did because it came out
Ooh, that beer.
at a time when I don't think it was on our radar.
Okay.
I'm not even sure. I'm sure it came out while we were still doing the podcast, Like, I don't think it's that old, but I
mean,
don't think it was
let's
really
just
that
say-
hard.
How did you all get the little bracelets? All
That's
I got
what
was
they give in-
all I got was a freaking I voted sticker.
Well, because you vote in
Bullitt County.
Yeah, Bullitt County, and we vote in Jefferson County. They give us bracelets. They give you stickers.
They give the rich people the bracelets. Yeah, and that's what I get. A nice bracelet.
bracelets and gas leaks.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you get in a big city. But no, we were going to go a different route with the review this week. However, when all the fanfare around one particular film,
I mean, it's been number one of the box office two weekends in a row. So yeah.
And it was kind of, I don't want to say it was a silent release. Obviously, there were people who were jumping on the bandwagon before this film came out that no doubt was cemented.
Oh yeah, I mean, it has a
When it
built-in
did
fan
release.
base, which
I just
obviously
don't
helped
think
it.
anybody expected it to be as big as it was.
No, I knew it had a built-in fan base. I didn't think it would be this big. And I guess it's kind of fitting because we're doing it's the last horror film. We weren't really going to do another horror film, but
we're tapped out on horror.
But it is also one that was meant to be accessible to a little bit younger audience, hence the PG-13. The games are rated T for teens, so they wanted to hit that kind of preteen teen age range, and I think it does. So
What
I
are we
guess maybe
talking about?
that's part of why. Oh, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
little,
I think that explains part of its
Review.
success. Is I think it does appeal to that teenage audience that the games were made for. So
Well, and it's as my niece likes to call it, FNAF.
FNAF, is that what she
FNAF.
calls?
I guess I don't know if that circulates online.
I mean,
she's 9 years old.
That would
going
be
on
the
10.
well, that would be
Yeah.
the acronym. Like Five Nights at Freddy's
Yeah,
is FNAF.
It's like, are you
FNAF.
guys playing FNAF?
FNAF. And she was like, I want to
FNAF.
see the FNAF movie.
Is it an AMF? Because see, Five Nights at Freddy would just be FNAF.
FNAF?
Yeah.
Maybe it's FNAF.
Yeah, FNAF. FNAF.
Is
Gosh,
that?
get on board, Brandon.
I don't know.
I'm
Get it
out of.
right.
I'm old now.
Gotta get with the
I don't.
lingo.
I don't know anything new and popular going on.
Which niece?
Kate.
Okay, but she's the younger one, right?
Yeah.
See,
My
here's the
10-year-old
thing.
watched it.
Oh, did he? Okay. See, I
Yeah,
think
I'll get into it after the
I
review.
think that
Okay.
age range, but a little bit young. Like I don't
She
know.
is-
10's I think kind of on that border.
She is really wanting to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, my nephew, pretty much all my nieces and nephews, minus
Love the series.
Elizabeth's older now, probably outgrown that, but they all watch the Let's Plays.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so they
yeah.
watch these YouTubers do Let's Plays, and that's how they garnered like their love for it. And now, of course, as soon as this movie comes, I mean, look, no doubt they knew what they were
Yeah.
doing when they made this
Oh, yeah.
film,
Yeah.
and what they were marketing.
It's
for.
really not that bad, but it still has some imagery that I think might be a little
It's scary.
much
A
for
little
some
scary,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about it after our review. So let's get into it. Here's our official review of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Halloween has now ended, and Thanksgiving is just around the corner. And if it's Thanksgiving, it must be Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, I promise this really is the last time I open a review with that joke. Besides, we've already established Thanksgiving is for Eli Roth. Childishly perturbing Eli Roth. But I digress. Despite Halloween having come to an end, we find ourselves with one more horror film to review. Yes, Five Nights at Freddy's has found itself landing the top spot at the box office 2 weeks in a row, on top of also premiering on Peacock the same weekend it hit the theaters. Earning the highest grossing first day for a video game movie, the most viewed film of all time at its first 5 days on Peacock, and is the highest grossing horror film of the year, currently sitting at over $217 million worldwide against its $20 million budget. It's safe to say Five Nights at Freddy's is a massive success for Universal. Based on the massively popular video game franchise of the same name, and directed by relative newcomer Emma Tammy, who helped write the screenplay alongside the game's creator, Scott Cawthorne. Five Nights at Freddy's follows Mike Schmidt, played by Josh Hutcherson, a rough around the edges, down on his luck security guard, trying to raise and maintain custody of his younger sister Abby. After losing his job at the local mall, Mike is left with no other options but to accept the security job at the now closed and run down Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a Chuck E. Cheese-style family restaurant complete with an animatronic animal band. Except the band members don't seem to stay in place at night, and Mike soon discovers the horrifying secrets behind Freddy Fazbear's. As a horror film, Five Nights at Freddy's is admittedly a bit lacking. As a video game adaptation, however, it soars above most. The balance between fan-pleasing game adaptation and functional horror film could definitely use some tweaking, but it's not hard for me to see why fans and audiences are loving this movie, while critics just can't figure it out. The overall story is fairly straightforward, and most of the twists are also fairly unsurprising. The movie has some solid jump scares and frightening imagery with very little gore. With walking goofball animatronics, the movie, just like the game it's based on, has a sense of humor surrounding much of the horror as well. The humor, though, can be hit or miss, helping to bring some levity to the horror and maintaining its PG-13 rating, but also is sometimes just too silly or overly done that it ruins the moment. Where the movie shines is in its tone and lore that is faithful to the games. As a PG-13 horror geared towards a more preteen to teenage audience to keep in line with the game's demographic, the film has certainly earned the love of the franchise's fans. It isn't the scariest horror film I've seen, and sure, they could have made it darker or more graphic, but that's not true to the games either. And a film can still be terrifying without being dark and gory. The movie, however, could have used a bit more building up of suspense alongside a tighter script. Hutchinson as Mike and his motivations are all fine, and while they do attempt some depth with the character, I never found him likable enough to connect with. And Hutchinson's performance never feels particularly amazing either. He's not bad per se, but comes off as almost bored with the role. None of these negatives, though, make me feel like the movie is as abysmal as the 26% critic score on Rotten Tomato would have you believe. The film certainly has rough edges that are in need of rounding, but does a solid job representing the game it's based on, while being a fairly standard horror film. And while this weird mix of solid game adaptation but mediocre horror film may have left the critics confounded, it works more than it doesn't. I give Five Nights at Freddy's 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Well. 2.5 out of 4 stars?
Yeah, it was okay.
So that's not terrible.
No, it's funny because you see, it's like at 80-something with audiences, and then critics, it's like 26, I think I said in the review.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
I think it's come up a little bit.
It might, well, yeah, of course.
I think it's in like the 30s.
Because that's what happens with the critics when they see the audience score skyrocket. They're like, well, we can't be wrong. It's not that bad. And then the next one will come out, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 will come out, and critics will praise it, and it'll be garbage, and audiences will hate it, because that's how it works. Critics are always one step behind. But no, it just needed a better script, I think, and a better lead actor, because he was just so... I appreciate the lore moments. I appreciate what they do. They bring in from the game some of the silly, like the stuff that's unnerving because it's goofy, but at the same time it is creepy.
Oh, it's at 29%.
Yeah,
okay.
29, yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like some of the goofy overtakes some of the better moments, and it's not as scary to me as... I've not played the games, but I've seen enough clips online that I feel like those are scarier than the actual movie is.
Yeah, and it's funny because I honestly think... the movie hits the right tone of trying to match the jump scares in the game from what I've seen. Because when I've seen my nieces and nephews watch the Let's Plays, it baffles me and I don't understand the trend because I'm just like, why wouldn't you just play the game
rather than watch someone play it?
Because that's what I want. But then again, I go down that rabbit hole too sometimes. Yeah. And I get it. It's like they're YouTubers and they have a personality that annoys the hell out of me. Yeah. But they think it's funny. And so they'll watch, and they have the jump scares. They get the jump scares. And for me, watching this and watching what they're watching, I'm just like, okay, this isn't made for me. This is not geared towards me.
Well, I think the suspense is built better in the games, too, so the jump scares are more effective.
True.
Whereas this movie, I felt like that really, you have the jump scares in the moments, but because the suspense isn't really there, you're expecting it, you know it's coming, I'm just like, oh, there it is. And it just wasn't as, gripping to me as... Where's this thing? The scenes in the games of the security guard when he's checking different cameras and you see this thing standing and then it cuts to a different camera, then it cuts back and it's moved, and there's things like that I felt like the movie didn't do as well.
It could
in building that suspense.
Sean, what about you? What'd you end up landing?
I would go 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair.
I
think that's fair.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. I have played the game in VR. So
nice. I bet that's good.
That is freaking scary.
That would be.
But I watched this with my 10-year-old, and mostly because I had watched it once before, knew there wasn't a whole lot of language in it, He's been begging to see the movie because he hears about it from kids at school.
Yep.
And so I thought, well, he's seen some other movies that aren't like horror movies, nothing like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, I didn't think it was that scary.
Yeah.
So I told him beforehand, I was like, if you have nightmares about this or whatever, then we probably won't watch anything else like it. But if you think you can handle it, and if you can let the 3 or 4 cuss words go in one ear and out the other, then I'll let you watch it. So we watched it last night together. He loved it.
Okay.
He said 5.5 stars. I was like, son, it's like 4.
Of course,
is
of
the
course.
most.
Yeah.
But no, he really liked it. He did like the jump scares, which I was already kind of ready for. But he's also watched YouTubers play the game, and he has seen like the toys. And I mean, there's a couple of years ago there weren't toys of Five Nights at Freddy's, but now there are.
Oh, yeah.
So there's just a lot of, like, he knew about the characters before I even knew about the characters. So it was just, for me, I was bored through most of the movie. It took me 3 sits to watch this whole movie.
Oh, wow.
I was, the first 2 times I tried it, I was like bored
not
out of my
feeling it?
gourd and fell asleep. Like, I wasn't even that tired. It was just, I'm just being honest. Josh Hutcherson, his acting in this movie is so tiresome.
It is.
That he put me to sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, first of all, I couldn't even wrap my mind around. He still looks like a kid. He looks like a kid with scruff on his face.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not buying that this is a man with a little bitty sister that's going through all this stuff. Like, I just couldn't.
Which he is our age. So,
I
but,
know.
I mean, he
he's,
doesn't
yeah,
look.
he's,
Yeah.
Well, he's got to be almost. I think he's almost my age.
You can't, no, is he?
He's.
I'm not sure how old he is, but I agree with you.
I was just like, I can't. I'm not buying into it. This is still the freaking kid from
He's definitely at
Zuthura
least mid-30s.
or whatever. Zathura. I'm like, this is just not a grown man.
He's Peter. Peter
I know.
Malark.
But no, there were so many bad lines in the movie, and I kept the whole dream theory thing. Like, I thought that was gonna go
I didn't know
deeper
that
and
was a
more.
subplot that did not.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna play into
He's
it better.
31.
31. Oh, okay.
Okay.
He's younger
He's
than I
alright,
thought.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
he is younger than I thought.
he looks 19 in the movie, so I was just like, I don't know. He looks like a 19-year-old that's been strung out
Well,
on
he'll
drugs.
come to love that about himself.
Yeah.
in the coming
Yeah,
years.
I don't know. I didn't like. Again, I completely agree with you. They could have picked a better lead actor. But yeah, some of the dialogue in this movie I thought was terrible.
Yeah, I would
especially when you're trying to create suspense. If you pull people out of it with these bad lines, that's sometimes laughable. I never was thrilled or scared. I don't know. I agree. I've played the game where you see the animatronic things on the monitors, or you can hear them coming down the hall, and you've got to shut the door but you've only got a certain amount of time before the door opens, and it's like there's a tension that's thrown in the game that did not exist in this movie. It was
Right.
like, well, if they're coming through there, I'll just go through the vent and get away from them. There wasn't really any way that somebody could be trapped.
Yeah.
And that was something that's different from the games. In the games, you're standing still in one location, and you have to monitor all of these different aspects to keep the things out of the room you're in.
Yeah.
And it's like in the movie, you can go to all these different places, and it's just, I don't know, it wasn't believable as the game can feel at times. So
and it's weird because I'm gonna knock it for the same reason. But one thing I said while the review was playing was that it didn't offer anything new, and I think for us as critics, we have to be critical of that because that's what our job is. But I do think for kids that are your son's age, for kids that are my niece's age, I think for them, this could be a foray into the suspense genre or
no
horror
doubt.
subgenre.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
he loved it.
And that's what I'm saying. I think for
I
them,
think it hits the target demographic. For
exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that if anything, if that was their aim, which clearly it was,
Yeah.
based on not only the way the story is told, but also the way it's carried out.
Well, the creator of the game was actually who helped write the screenplay with the director, and I think that could also be part of the dialogue because this director's pretty
Yeah,
much
I didn't like the dialogue.
The director's
Wasn't a fan.
is a no name really. I mean, she's had some smaller works, but this is her first big project. And then the creator of the games, like the games are done well, but they're not dialogue driven or heavy either. So I think it's just one of those things where you have two people making something for that target demographic, for the fans, and that works. But as a movie as a whole, it kind of falls flat because they're not looking at the finer details that you should when you're making a movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. And ultimately, I just feel like they dropped the ball when it came to appeasing, kind of doing what the old secret sauce to the Disney Pixar era used to be, which was you appeal to both adults and children in the same degree. And I felt like this was definitely, again, it's another comment I made during the review was I've called it akin to Mortal Kombat when I was growing up. And how I was a huge fan of that just because of the video games were big, but also, oh my gosh, live action Mortal Kombat, this is amazing. And I watched that thing all the time. And it was a strong PG-13. It had a few bouts of language and some violence in it, but nothing like that I couldn't have handled at that age. I'm 8 or 9 years old. And I feel like this one, depending on your what you believe your child can handle, it definitely falls in that ballpark of, I think, letting your child watch this. I don't think you'd be wrong for doing like one preview of it and then saying, deciding then, like,
knowing whether your kid can handle it or not.
Right. Because I mean, again, I know people's kids who've been afraid of Gollum, and so they don't watch Lord of the Rings right away. And I get that, you know.
Gollum is terrifying.
The orcs are more scary than anything in this movie.
Really
though. Yeah.
Which is a testament to those films. Are fantastic. And that's the other thing, too, I was going to hit on is there's not much of a message here. Again, there's nothing bad that's a detractor in terms of, no, there's not anything I would say is, okay, I don't want my kid learning that or knowing that. But there isn't anything also very uplifting either.
Yeah.
The best message in the film, really, I think, is the one that they tie in with apparently the character that Josh Hutcherson is not even in the game. He's just made up for this film, which is fine. Mm-hmm. They needed an anchor. Yeah. But the fact that he has a relationship with the backstory of his brother and him losing him at a young age and then him taking on the responsibility of being a father figure to his sister, I thought that was at least a good angle to play, and him being down on his luck and really feeling motivated to continue to fight through whatever he needed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it get into the nuts and the bolts, there were just a lot of, whether it was lazy dialogue, whether it was just bad set pieces. I mean, the random montage video where they just decide to build a fort, and it's this weird sequence of them all built. I was just kind of like, okay, I get you're trying to be lighthearted and fun here, but it's just weird and it's disjointed. It didn't feel right.
Well, the fact that most normal human beings would pick up their sister and run from that place instead of just saying and playing with the animatronic murderers.
And I don't want to spoil too much. The slight twist with the cop. I'll just put it that way. Yeah. I thought that was a little bit contrived and a little bit like, oh, okay.
It kind of came out of left field. No, I mean,
that's in the game.
That is, but it's. I know the game story. I read it. Like, I haven't played the games, but I read it because I just wanted to know. And I'm like,
it just wasn't done well.
Because you play as just basically a nameless security guard, which is the role that Josh Hutcherson kind of fulfills, and then all the other characters are like the people who whether it's the owner who all that stuff. I knew. I was like, okay, that matches what I read from the story. That matches what I read from the story. So I'm like, I get it, but at the same time, I just felt like it could have been done in a way that was a little bit more enthralling, at least for adults, because it is PG-13. It's not like this is a PG rated kids movie. It is meant to have a wider audience, and I'm like, yeah, it's appealing to the demographic that plays the games, but it's not appealing to someone who's just looking for a solid horror film as much, because it kind of drops the ball on a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I ended up settling on 2.5. I was in the same ballpark, but nothing I'll revisit. But easily I will say, based on what I was hearing from the critics and from people who were and I was hearing the fanfare from the fans themselves about how they were happy of all the little things that they got right in the film and pointing out all the little Easter eggs. I fell in the middle. I was like, it's not a terrible movie. It definitely doesn't deserve a 30%. But it also isn't a fantastic movie. It's one that, okay, I watched it. It's fine. I'll move on.
Kind of like the game to me. I mean, it's not a
groundbreaking title.
Yes, it's not an amazing game. It's just a very small. It's almost like a mini game.
Yeah.
But it does what it's supposed to do. It does scare the crap out of you. And it's like, I guess, this film is supposed to try to capture some of the thrill of the game, and it does.
I mean, I look at it like it's just this weird anomaly of something that is, I'm not going to say it's subpar, because clearly it created something that has engaged with its audience, and it's kept creating things.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to somebody at work, and they were saying there's like 9 games in the series. I was like,
there's a lot.
Gosh sakes. So clearly they've hit on something that's successful. They know their audience, and they're keeping them coming back. And now you have a movie that on a $20 million budget has made over 200 at this point. That's absolutely, like, it's one of those things where I realize, like, okay, I am out of the age range now where cultural things that are like the undertones I don't know and I don't get, and it's kind of scary and weird that you realize like how old you are, but you're also like, okay, it's one of those things that I just don't get. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I understand that it's people's things. If they enjoy it, great. I didn't think it was absolutely awful. I didn't think, oh, this is something that I'm going to show my nieces and nephews, and then all of a sudden they're just going to be like, oh God, I'm like, I can't show them this. This is horrible cinema.
I would compare it to, and granted, I think this other movie I'm about to mention is definitely better, but I can compare it to Mario in the sense that while I like Mario a lot more, it definitely was very heavy on those Easter eggs and homages and pleasing fans from generations, and I think that's why it worked, is because I grew up with Mario and saw stuff in there I loved, and other current kids have grown up with Mario and can love the movie.
Right.
Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't have that generational span where it's something I can relate to as a kid.
It's building its generation.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, I recognize that there's enough Easter eggs and things in there it does right that the fans like, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, I'm not really a huge fan of the games because I've never played them, and this movie just as a movie on its own isn't quite as good. Like, it may hit all those little nostalgic touches you love about the series, but as a movie, it's just not that well done. Whereas Mario could have been better, I think, but it was still a well done movie. Like, I think as a movie on its own, it still stands.
I agree. Yeah. I agree, because there were some funny parts in this that I laughed at, mainly to do with the mother figure and her lawyer. I thought her lawyer was hilarious. But other than that, I mean, it was
the
like,
aunt that was trying to get custody.
Oh, was it his aunt?
His aunt was trying to get custody.
His aunt. That's what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mother's dead.
Yeah, parents. That's why he has the daughter or the sister.
But yeah, I mean, I thought that whole again, there were just other things that they tried to add into the film that to add depth. That, you know, some were hits, like that whole subplot with the aunt trying to get custody, versus the other thing, like you mentioned, Sean, the dream sequence that was just like, nah.
Yeah, some of those I was just like,
why'd you even add that?
We don't need this.
Well, even the brother going missing, I was like, is his brother going to end up being one of the machines? Like,
right.
It was just like, so the point of the story was all the kids that have gone missing get their soul or whatever is in one of these machines, except his brother. And it was just like,
honestly,
okay, so
that's
his brother
what I
just
thought.
died for no reason.
I did. I kept thinking
like,
we're going to have a touching moment
Yeah.
with one of these robots, because it's
that would have,
be...
I think, been more creative, because you're right. When you get to the end of it, and it's just like, why exactly did we need the dead brother? Like, him having to take care of his sister because the parents
was
died
enough.
is already enough, and then you add on the fact it's like, well, when he was really young, he lost a brother too. So he's lost his brother. Then they got older and lost the parents, and now he has a sister.
And really, the only connection you have to the mastermind behind the whole thing and the security guard and his missing brother is when he goes to the job interview and the guy sees his name and he's just like, Mike, oh, I have a job for you. Like, he sees the guy's name and recognizes you're the brother of one of the kids that I killed. And it's like, so that was the only connection that you're given for the reason that he was picked for that job. And it was, and I just thought that wasn't enough. If you're going to try to make the dead brother thing a part of this story, you've got to give me a little bit more than that.
I agree.
I thought that was stupid.
Well, and it was like the intrigue was there. They lay out the mystery of you wanting to know what's going to happen and what does happen, and just the payoff isn't there. And that's another one of the failures of the movie. Again, I think we've added a lot of good, pluses and minuses to the film. I don't think we're saying it's awful.
Well,
and
when you have
atrocious,
around
but-
that 2-star range, that's what you get.
that
It's
makes
a
sense.
lot of pluses and a lot of minuses.
Yep.
Okay.
So
just balancing the scales.
2.5
I
out
want
of
to
4
tell
stars.
you a minus right now that I'm seeing is your freaking Stream Deck's
can't-
not working
yeah.
again.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you don't have it
Yes.
on again.
But
yeah.
he's over here
Should be
trying to push
working.
buttons and they're not working.
Yep.
Hold on.
I can't do. Are you not
I'm
entertained?
gonna fix
I
something
can't do.
live
Well,
on
there
air.
it is.
Let's see if this works. Let's see if we can get this to work.
You got it working the week before Halloween.
I know. That's what's crazy. I'm doing this live on air. Let me populate it. Let me open it up here.
There.
Oh, I
Did
see
that work?
something. Well, there we go.
It is now. Nice.
I shouldn't have to open. Hold on. I'm gonna close it out. Did it go away?
No, it's still there.
All right, we're good. We're good. I don't know. Oh, I know what it was. We had a power failure.
Oh,
We had a power failure this week, and I had to reset all this. Yep.
It's probably from Bob Iger stalking
did.
us.
He came
was
in
stalking
here.
us and cut off the power. And
Sabotage.
it's like, I'm afraid to sit by this window now. Bob
Well,
Iger
you know, they say
he
if
might be
there's,
staring in
power
at us.
outages or flickers, all you got to do is turn the breaker off and then turn it back on, and it fixes everything.
That's
fixes
it.
everything.
Just like in Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's right.
Yep.
That's all you got to do. It's very simple, easy. Flip all your breakers in the house, and wait about 10 minutes, and then flip everything back on, and you're good.
You sound just like IT.
Did you turn it off and
Just
turn it back
reset
on?
it.
Power down and power up. That's
Power
it.
down.
All right,
power
guys,
up.
we got tons of headlines.
We
Time
got
to-
headlines.
Let's get into it. Edie is giving me this look right now. She's just like, really, we're doing this right now. Like, I don't know what it is. She's not entertained. She's not entertained right now. So we're gonna try to entertain her
Let's do it.
and entertain our audience out there because we're talking about Marvel Mayhem. What? No, that's right. We're not done. We're not done talking about Disney and Marvel, and they're just crashing and burning. Okay, they are. It's true. I mean, look, I don't mean to sound gleeful, but the fact is it's ridiculous how fast. I mean, I say how fast, but in the manner of just a couple of years, this. What was sought and thought to have been an unsinkable ship has turned into the Titanic.
Man.
Oh my goodness!
And,
That's a good
um,
analogy.
Even God himself could not sink this ship.
it
That's right.
Just the amount of news coming out though about the complete you could tell from the movies and the series that something wasn't right going on at Marvel. Like they took a terrible turn somewhere. But then when you get all the behind the scenes information that's been like being released lately, and you hear
Yeah,
about how
doesn't
the
bode
Marvel's director like left for a month, like when post-production began, which she's denying now, but of course, and that Mahershala
We
Ali
reported on that.
Yeah, Mahershala Ali almost left Blade because they turned the movie into a movie focusing on 3 women instead of him.
and it's gone through 5 rewrites.
Yeah, the amount of director firing the Daredevil writers and actually hiring showrunners. I'm like, Marvel is just, you're right, like just mismanaged, complete mishaps. I mean, the Marvel method is failing.
Right now, because it seems like they're trying to produce too much. I mean, the biggest blow recently we talked about just a couple of weeks ago, whether that be Kevin Feige realizing he was spread too thin in terms of being the COO and then of Marvel, and then also the fact that the visual effects artists banded together to create a union because they were being overworked way too much, projects that were being stacked on top of each other. They weren't able to make deadlines. You had instances of bad special effects in both Quantum Mania, in shows like WandaVision and She-Hulk.
Oh, that one.
She-Hulk's
No, well, that one
atrocious.
was the one that got me too because they did rewrites after they had already produced and done a lot of the. That's what the VFX artists were talking about why they was so bad.
Yeah.
Is that they got scripts after it had already been done, changing so much that they had to go back and redo CGI for the new scripts, and they didn't have time to make it look good. And I'm just like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like that's not how you make a show. You can't just say we don't like this because they didn't do pilots. They just made the whole series like they'd make a movie.
$240 million budgets.
Yes, and then after making the whole thing, because they didn't have a pilot, they didn't view it during production to make sure it was good. After they've got all this garbage, and they're like, this is garbage, they have to go back and redo it, and you don't have time to redo it after that point.
And not to mention, I mean, you kind of a little bit of tongue-in-cheek with their title here, Marvel's Mayhem, because the biggest news, of course, coming out over the last couple weeks has been the fact that tracking numbers for box office results and pre-sale tickets with regard to the Marvels has been trending lower than that of Black Adam and The Flash.
Yeah, and those were not. They didn't do
and
great.
these were supposed to be. I mean, these were considered, and rightfully so, the death knell in currently DC's coffin. Even though James Gunn has a handle on it and is telling us, prepare Superman Returns, or Superman Legacy. For 2025. And yet, I mean, here it is. It's like, on one hand, we could sit here and point out to DC, that ship hasn't written its course yet, and it's continuing to fail, and these are just awful. But when it comes to the Marvels, it's like, they're not busting $100 million on opening weekend.
I want to highlight something kind of specific here because one, when you have a star who just basically keeps crapping over the audience, saying, "Well, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. Nobody likes me. Does anybody even want to see me?" It's like, no, we don't want to see you. We're not going to go see your movie.
Nope.
So when you have a star that keeps crapping on the audience, of course they're not interested. But there's one part here that it's something that's I have thought about a couple times, way before I even read this article. But it's talked about, we're told the Marvels is well below the top performing MCU titles among men under 35. And here's my thing, that I'm not shocked by that at all, because one, men don't want to see a cringy movie about a bunch of superheroes in comic books have always been predominantly a something boys enjoy. I'm not saying women don't like superheroes, women don't read comics, but the predominant demographic of comic books are boys. Barbie was huge among women. Why? The prominent demographic. We as men didn't care for Barbie. I wonder why.
Even though Ryan Gosling was the best part of that film.
He was. Well, exactly. The part we liked best was the guy.
Yeah. No. But everybody across the board.
True.
A lot of mixed audiences
Even
were saying.
females liked.
We're saying that Ken walked away with it. He stole the show.
But it's funny because the main demographic for Barbies are young girls. And it's funny. It's like when you have something that is made that for a fact that no matter how much you change, I'm sorry, the Captain Marvel comics don't sell anywhere near as Captain America or Iron Man or the X-Men or Spider-Man. That's just a fact. You can get pissy about it and say that's sexist, but it doesn't sell as much. The predominant demographic for comic book movies are going to be boys and young men.
And not only that, but the few scenes that have leaked from the film have showcased, you have freaking instances where these women are all three fighting. The men look like dopes, or they're fighting and they get easily beaten up. You have freaking Samuel L. Jackson, who played a reincarnation of Shaft, hiding behind a damn chair in a spaceship, letting a young 12-year-old girl
when does Nick Fury
fight for him.
Yeah, when does Nick Fury not fight?
Come on, he was a badass before.
And that's the problem, not with just this movie, because yes, this movie is about a female superhero, so it makes sense that maybe this one would be more female centric. But the problem is Marvel has now they have replaced every major character that their main demographic boys enjoy with a female counterpart, and are doing this whole I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar thing. There's a rumor that Valkyrie's going to be in this movie. It's why would Valkyrie from Thor need to be in this movie? I don't know.
Because it's another female character.
Because you have to because they have to shove another strong female in there.
I hate to say it because it just came out and everybody's been posting this meme everywhere. But as Cartman just said in the recent South Park special, put a woman in it, make her gay.
Yeah.
It's that's it.
and that's the thing. Get the Pander Stone. That is nothing. Yeah. I mean, South Park really nailed it. I mean, they do. They typically do. But they hit the nail on the head. People are tired of this because that's all it is. They're tired of these movies that are nothing but Pander Stone made films where you're just pandering to a demographic that doesn't even really care about your movies.
Nope.
Why are you pandering to it? I understand it's we want to reach wider demographics and pull more people in. It's okay, that's good. You can try to do that, but you don't alienate your main demographic where all your money is.
And that's exactly what they've done.
Well, that's what even Captain Marvel, which comes from the era of Marvel movies that were good, it was one of the worst ones, in my opinion, but it also does the same exact thing that not just Secret Invasion, but the Marvels is also going to do with Nick Fury, who's, like you said, he's this badass, but it's even in that movie, they take you back to when he was younger, and he should have been more of a badass, but he's not.
Nope.
She is.
Yep.
And it's just the snarky her little smirk that she does makes me want to punch her in the freaking face.
Yeah.
I just can't. I don't like Brie Larson. Period.
Right.
But her take of Captain Marvel is
because she seems like she's too good for the role.
She's conceited.
Exactly. And I think everybody who has seen her in interviews and even sees her in this role, she's not. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like Josh Hutcherson in FNAF.
Yeah.
Where it's specifically playing like he's bored and he doesn't want to be there. And I hate to say it, but even with her,
she comes across like she's better than the movie she's in, and I'm like, okay, if you feel that way, why are you in it?
Well, but again, that's been
For
the
the
issue.
paycheck.
That's been the issue with Marvel and Disney for quite a while now. Is it's clear what they've been, the message they've been trying to peddle and been trying to send with each of their installments. I mean, the other news that came out just on the Disney side of things is Snow White is now getting pushed back for an entire year. It's supposed to come out March of next year. Oh well, it just so happens with all the Rachel Ziegler stuff, we got to quiet this down. We're gonna give it a year to rest.
And the fact that Daily Wire is making their own version of the movie,
and you see,
and they're not even a film studio, and it's like they're gonna make this. I mean, I'm sorry, it's the Daily Wire. They're not a no-name company, but in terms of film, they're not that. Nowhere near Disney, and they're going to put out a movie that I guarantee you is better than anything Disney is going to put out, and it could be could be low quality, it could be low production value, and it's still going to be better.
And they put out a freaking teaser that within like 15 seconds, I was already like, this is more closer to home and akin to Snow White's story, and actually looking upon a beautiful woman that you're just like, okay, this seems like a story about what Snow White is, what the actual lore and the story behind it. Whereas when you watch anything, I mean, the fact that they had to go back and digitally replace the freaking dwarves,
and they look terrible. I'm like, how is this better than hiring actual dwarf actors? It's like first you have this multicolor coalition of actors playing the dwarfs, because you have like there's only one actual dwarf. The rest of them were all varying, demographics.
Surprised they didn't have a dwarf in a wheelchair.
And well, I haven't.
I mean, why not?
And now it's like they've all been replaced with these CGI.
Would that be a lowrider?
Yeah. But now the dwarves look more, I guess, similar to their animated counterparts, but not really, because they're horrifying. Honestly, I saw this and I was like, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, when I saw that photo, I was just like, "Are you serious?"
I thought it was a joke.
Yeah,
it had. I really
did. I was just like, "Wait a minute now." And then, but the other thing too that ate me up about it is you have Rachel Ziegler like doing these interviews where she talks about like the princess she's not going to look like a princess, and she's not going to be saved by the prince and all this. And it's like, in that picture, she looks just like the cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she's got the same dress and all this. She's all dolled up with her hair with bows in it. And I'm like, you look just like Snow White. Like,
but
I mean,
that's the thing.
like
that's what Disney.
But she won't be saved by the prince.
Exactly.
And that's what's most important.
That's all that matters. All that matters is it matches the facade that people have attached, memories or not, from their childhood, and even the newcomers, so they can say, "Oh, that looks like the cartoon that my parents showed me when I was younger, or maybe even saw the cover of, but I never watched."
If the movie does release, it's going to be drastically different than it originally was.
100%. Yeah, and that's what they're hoping for.
Part of me thinks they might be going for a write-off. It's like, we'll push it out a year, and then when it gets closer to the year, they're like, "Nah, never mind." But I mean, that depends on how I think how poorly they think it's going to really be received.
No, that's what I mean. I think it'll either not get done at all, or it's not going to be the movie that Rachel Ziegler's advertising. They will do a 180 and go back to the roots and make it like that. It's still not going to be good, but it's going to go back to the original Snow White story and not do this whole girl power thing.
They're to save money on reshoots. They're going to keep the same initial story they have. They're going to try in every way possible to re-edit out as much of the wokeness that they can to make it seem like it's lukewarm or tame compared to what people have
to just not do it then.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I think what's going to end up happening is you already hear, I mean, you've already seen Rachel Ziegler being put on hiatus. Yeah. She hasn't been out there in the public eye since.
Yeah, they told her to shut up.
Yeah, pretty much. And I guarantee you what they're going to do is they are going to release it, but it's going to be more of a quiet release, and it's not going to be near what they were expecting it to be.
Streaming only.
It could be. Very well could be. And then there was another one they pushed back from next year that was supposed to release in March, and it's now releasing in like May of 25. But it was another big movie. Oh, it was Elio, Pixar's Elio. That was supposed to be Pixar's next tentpole release.
Oh. Yeah.
And it's now been pushed back a full year. And
I hope they do. I hope, like, honest, I mean, I still don't trust Disney. There are some decisions they've made recently that I'm like, I agree with those decisions. Does that mean you're going to make a turn for the better? I don't trust that, but I do agree with some of the decisions they're making to try to turn around. Now, I don't know if my problem is I don't trust that they actually understand the problem to really turn around.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and actually, I thought you were going to bring this up in that article, but it brings up I forget which article it is specifically. I mean, we're going to have all these linked down in the description below. I can't remember if it's the Deadline article or the Variety article, but one of them even tries to explain when talking about the Marvels and how it's not been tracking well, not only just the demographic issue, but they were also saying that, it was Disney's fault because they usually drop drop all the press releases about 12 weeks before, and they really ramp it up, and they haven't done it with this film, and that's been part of the problem. No. I'm like, look, this is how you know you don't hate the media enough. When they are trying to come up with, well, here's the real problem Disney has, and then they give you these BS reasons that are just pandering to the don't stop the wokeness. We still agree with you there, but over here we're going to go to bat with saying, but you should be, savoring it and pushing it out there more for the people. That's where the media gets it wrong, because again, they want to try to placate to Disney, and they want to try to cover for them to say, well, yeah, you all aren't pushing it and promoting it enough.
Yeah, they make up excuses that obviously aren't the problem. It's like, it's a huge Marvel release. Yes, would there have been more promotion? Probably, if Marvel was doing well, absolutely. But they know it's like, we're not going to push something that is kind of lukewarm. But at the same time, if Marvel still had the credibility they had, everybody would be flocking to it. It wouldn't matter.
They bring that up. They said at the recent summit, and I forget what the name of the summit is, they had, candid conversations with a lot of Disney executives, and they were talking about how that's been the word of mouth.
The Palm Springs, where they go, I have that article up as well, yeah.
And he's talking about specifically how it was only just a couple of years ago that if you had brought up Marvel in a movie that Marvel was coming out just in 2019, there's no doubt it was going to be a slam dunk, close to $1 billion release, if not more than $1 billion.
Yeah.
And it was guaranteed. They said if it doesn't crack $500 million now, that's a flop. It's a failure. And you're talking about, $220 million just in production costs alone for these
not even
movies.
Including marketing.
No.
So it has to at least do $600 million, because, I mean, generally you have to double at least the production value, if not more. So it's like, if you're looking at something that doesn't make 600 or more, then it's not a successful film.
And I hate to say it, but Marvel hasn't landed that in the last several years. They've not given people a reason to return.
Yeah,
they've simply just across the board given people a reason to say, it's not worth my time anymore.
Well, part of that's the shoddy movies, but the other part of it is the shoddy game plan. It's like they laid out this roadmap when people started questioning, where are you going with this story arc? And then they show you this huge roadmap all of a sudden.
Like it's all planned out.
Yeah, it's all planned out. And it's like, when this movie when this movie comes out, it's going to put it all together. No, it didn't.
Nope.
When this one comes out, it's going to put the pieces together. No, it didn't. It's like we're not getting anything.
Yeah. I will say that is one decision they recently announced that I did kind of think it was smart, like with officially with Echoes being the first one, was the idea of labeling the things that don't connect directly, that are just more individual stories, as Marvel Spotlight. I was like, I like that, because that at least, when you go in, you realize it's like, okay, Echoes a Marvel Spotlight show. So it's a part of the MCU. It still exists within that universe, but its story is singularly focused and does not connect to anything in the larger MCU. And it's like, I appreciate that, because now I know if I don't want to watch Echo, it's okay to skip it, and I won't miss anything in the larger.
Yeah.
But I mean, the problem with that is, it's good you're doing that, but at the same time, the movies that are supposed to connect, like Multiverse of Madness and Quantum Mania, those still have to be well done and good and make sense, because neither of those movies did.
Right. And again, going back, kind of the last point I wanted to talk about with Marvel, when you talk about the issues of having the cohesion and also just the roadmap looking forward, it's really bad when you're looking at returning stars that one has already been killed off, and others who have already left the series and passed the proverbial baton off to other stars who were supposed to make it on their own. When you got to go back to the original cast, who have the bigger claim to fame and names,
draw viewers
to
back
these characters, you got to draw them back in. You got to try to get their butts in seats. That screams disaster. Let alone, yes, regardless of whether or not it was planned out or how it shakes out, the Kang disaster with Jonathan Majors
that's a huge problem.
Is a huge issue at hand. And if they have to recast Kang, they're Thanos.
Yep.
It's like, everybody was comparing. Well, they already did it once with Don Cheadle and replacing
that's
characters.
That's a minor.
Yeah,
I don't really
nobody care about.
Yeah, that's a minor character. I don't really think.
That was even before War Machine was established.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I mean, it's like, yeah, you could say it's like, well, it is a multiverse. Like there are variants that look different. It's like, yeah, but we've already seen like a room full of
like
we
showed us that.
We saw a room full of Kangs and they were all Jonathan Majors. So at this, it's like not that he can't have variants that look different, but at this point, if you pivot to a variant that looks different, you're like, well, what were all these other Kangs about? Like that wouldn't work. That's not good in my opinion. And going back to. We're talking about, of course, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans are heavily rumored to be involved in Secret Wars. And also, they're heavily rumored is Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman because they're the popular Spider-Man Wolverine, which would make sense.
They got to bring everybody, all the old ones back.
That would make sense based on what the Secret Wars storyline is with the encompassing the multiverse. But the problem is, it's like, I don't feel like you're doing this now because you're trying to... Like, if this had been Endgame... Or like even with Spider-Man No Way Home, it's like you did this because that is a nostalgia kick for fans. That was a smart move. But now it's like, oh, that worked in No Way Home. Well, what if we bring Tobey Maguire to Secret Wars? And we have Hugh Jackman doing Deadpool. What if we can get him to do Secret Wars too? And what if we can get Robert Downey Jr. Chris? Let's just get everybody people like back because the movie's garbage and hopefully they'll just come see it for them.
Yeah, that's what worries me is that the film, like, it's fine. If you want to bring all of these names back and try to bring back the magic that was everything before Endgame, I'm fine with that. But the movie itself has got to be good. It's like Endgame was
one movie.
Infinity Saga was good because all of the films were good. Even good God, even Iron Man 3 is better than anything Marvel has put out recently.
I sadly would
and I'm just
agree.
like, that was one of the worst
Thor:
movies.
The Dark World
Thor: The
is
Dark
better
World is
than-
better. Yes, that's right. So it's
Love
just
and
like
Thunder.
you've got to give us something besides the names. Like
Yes.
those names got to come back to a good story.
Well, my thing is, if when you're because here's the thing, you had all these years to build up to Infinity War and Endgame, and even still, Infinity War and Endgame is this 2-part story. And yeah, I'm sure Kang Dynasty builds into Secret Wars, but knowing with the Secret Wars storyline and the fact that you're going to bring in, if it's true, Hugh Jackman, Tobey Maguire, all these huge names, and give them good enough screen time to make the story make sense, I don't see how you're doing that storyline in one movie and it not being a jumbled mess. Because I'm sorry, when you get that big, just these small little cameos, like people aren't gonna be like, Tobey Maguire popped up for a second, that's cool. I mean, then you end up with Multiverse of Madness where you have John Krasinski and all these characters that you're excited about, and then they all get killed off in 3 seconds, and you're like, well, what was the point of that?
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, we got your expectations.
It's like, oh, here's Patrick Stewart,
Yeah.
here's John Krasinski.
Right.
Isn't this cool? Oh, they're dead.
Look. It's like, well, and again, that's been the cheap hat trick that Marvel's been using since the end of the Infinity Saga. They've been trying to come up with a way to coax you back in, and look, they tried. I'll give them credit where credit is due. Early on, they were trying to set up, the passing of the baton to other characters. It hasn't worked. That's what that to me is what the series on Disney Plus were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it hasn't paid off, and they've been lackluster about the development and how it moves forward. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, but the brilliance, quote unquote, of the Infinity Saga and how it played out seems to be almost more like a fluke when you consider what the Marvel Universe has become today, and how it continues to just flounder in every opportunity and every time you get a new installment for another show or another movie. It can't seem to find its footing. It's meandering and has nowhere to go right now. And I hate to say it, but look, one of the questions that one of the articles ends on is, is this the end of Marvel? And of course, the executive's like, no. I wouldn't count Marvel out. I mean, you got to understand, like, these are beloved properties, and there's always a chance to right the ship. And I'm like, but the time is running out.
Yeah.
Because the amount of energy it takes to consume this content and have the same feeling as the fans who came out for the Infinity Saga, that time is waning.
Oh, yeah.
And it's quickly evaporating.
The nostalgia is lost. That magic's not there. I mean, you're talking about passing the baton. I mean, I still, like, what was the point of Falcon and the Winter Soldier other than introducing the new Captain America? I'm like, okay.
Only to go back to Chris Evans.
Right.
Bring him back.
But the baton got passed, and Captain America has not played a single role in anything since. And it's like, okay, he's a pretty important
He'll fly
character.
through a portal from another universe, a multiverse, and hey, he's back.
Yeah, but I just, it's like, okay, he's not played as, and that's a problem with the connectivity. I know they have their solo films, they always had, but you still felt like actions in each film affected other films. It's like nothing in Falcon and the Winter Soldier has mattered. That Captain America has not been mentioned or talked about as being the new Captain America. And then you're going to get to Secret Wars where you bring Chris Evans back, and it's basically like, well then what?
And you know, the other part of that news being broken that irritates me is, look, everybody had the rumor and was clamoring, I mean, me included, for No Way Home and wanting Tobey Maguire to make an appearance.
Yeah.
To have, you know, the Spider-Man's meet in the universe, or the multiverse. And even though you knew it was coming, they never said a word.
Yeah.
They did not break the silence, and they were just like, we don't know. You have to go see.
Yeah.
And of course, the moment that it hits in the movie in the theater, we all had the gasp.
Yep.
We were all thrilled to see it and overjoyed. And we even said, the movie up to that point was lukewarm at best.
Yeah.
The moment Tobey Maguire, even Andrew Garfield, makes an
Andrew
appearance.
Garfield comes up first.
Right.
The moment both of them appear is when the movie becomes much better.
But that's the problem is from that moment on, and you know, the moment that things are leaking about RDJ coming back and Chris Evans, I'm like, you're leaking this information intentionally to get people hyped.
Yeah.
When these things were happening naturally and organically in films. I mean, I still remember, you knew there was going to be a big hoorah moment at the end of Endgame, but when Chris Evans is there and all of a sudden he hears the static and a portal opens and Black Panther steps through, and then all of them start opening and all coming through and people are cheering, and then like he freaking reaches out and catches the damn hammer and he's like, assemble. You freaking
mind
bonkers.
blown,
Oh my gosh. Moviegasm all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't have that excitement.
No.
You've not built for that excitement. That's what they did right, was they built everything. 23 freaking movies up to that moment.
But they also built the characters. You cared about the characters.
Yes.
I don't like any of these characters. No. Even Doctor Strange, who was a part of Infinity War and Endgame, and I grew to start liking him in those movies. And then you get him in his second movie, and I'm like, well, now this guy just turned into a dick again.
Yeah.
And it's like
he didn't grow at all. He regressed.
Yes.
Thor. Same thing with Thor. He regressed. Yeah.
They have butchered Thor. It's like he has this amazing story arc across the whole Infinity Saga, and then you get the Thor Love and Thunder, and he just becomes a jackass again. Yep. And I'm like, okay,
he's just a fool.
I guess
he's a bumbling, stupid
everything
idiot.
he learned throughout the Infinity Saga to become the leader he was supposed to be is now pointless.
I wouldn't put it past Marvel to literally bring RDJ back as Iron Man as just a hologram or an AI, or something like that helps some female character.
Ironheart.
Ironheart.
That would piss me off even more if they just bring him back as like a hologram.
I've been talking about. I don't know if I don't really, because I don't give a crap about Ironheart. I don't know if this is from the comics or just what fans want, but there is talk about like him being like, you know how he has the voice in his suit, Jarvis, and then it's Friday after Jarvis is.
She's gonna have his voice.
Her AI voice would be Tony Stark.
Oh god, that's how you'd bring him back.
And I'm like, well, I don't know.
$25 million.
But I'm like, that would be terrible.
Surprise me.
But that would be terrible. That would be. I'm like, I don't want that.
All right, we gotta move on from Marvel. It's not looking good. That's all I can say. It's not. I am more depressed about Marvel than I am about DC, because DC has never had a chance, and at least even they've continued to just be the same.
They've just
even with James Gunn under,
just completely
they've just always disappointed. I mean, again, when I always find it funny when you're going back, just like with George Lucas and Star Wars. It's like I never thought there'd be a day when you clamor to have George back.
Yeah, and you don't want Feige taking over?
Well, I was gonna say I never thought there'd be a day where I was like, you know what? I kind of wish I could have seen how the Snyderverse would have played out.
Yeah.
I kind of wish at least it would have been cohesive.
Yeah.
At least it would have maybe made some sense.
It would have been over the top. It would have been brooding.
Yeah,
it would have been dark, but it would have been better.
There would have eventually, I believe enough in Zack Snyder, there would have been at least one good movie that would have come out of the whole thing.
Yeah. Maybe his ultimate endgame goal with the Justice League would have been amazing if we'd let him do it. I don't know. Well, I told you, like, because I made the Feige joke with the rumors that Feige wants to jump ship and go to Star Wars. I'm like, if he had said after Endgame, I've done all I could with Marvel, I'd like to tackle Star Wars now, I'd be like, yeah, let him have it, because Kathleen Kennedy's awful. But now, seeing what he's done since Endgame, I'm just like, I don't want either one of you.
Honestly, at this point, I'm just like, y'all both need to go. You're done. You've lasted long long past your due date.
Yeah.
Sorry. Your due date is long gone as far as your expiration date. Sorry, your expiration date's long been passed. But no, the other headline I want to bring up, though, is actually talking about, we're talking about harping on Marvel and probably going to be rating the Marvels a bad review. Again, I won't say it till we see it. But
I'll eat my words if it's good. I know it's not. Come on, like, we already know.
No way.
We already know. I'm just like, that's why I say I'll eat my words if it's good, because I know it's not going to be.
But there's proof, or not proof. Well, it is proof, but it basically admittance that HBO used fake accounts to target negative reviews.
I believe everybody does.
Because
they basically would just cut.
Shocker. Who didn't know this?
But it's essentially just making an account and leaving comments about, like, well, you're wrong. And I'm like, I'm sure all kinds of people get on there and read, Sylvester Stallone in the documentary we just watched, which was fantastic, by the way, talked about, like, he used to want to fight critics until he matured. Like, he would see them on the streets after they gave him a bad review. He'd be like, oh, you hate my movie? You want to meet me in the alleyway? Yeah. And it's like, if he was tech savvy today, maybe he would have an account online and be like, well, screw you. I thought Expendable 4 was amazing.
And here's the thing. It's like, even with us, we review movies and we're harsh on ones we dislike.
Yeah.
And we praise heavily the ones we like.
There's times we've had really harsh reviews that somehow are the only ones that get blocked on Facebook.
Candyman remake.
The one with what's her name that was an Oscar nominee too. The woman that was crazy. I don't remember.
I know what you're talking about.
That one got censored too. We gave it a bad review.
I can't remember which one. I know which one. Not Nomadland. Which one was it? I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
Wasn't Mudbound, was it?
No.
Crap.
I'm trying to remember. I think it has woman in the title. I just can't think of what it was.
Oh, Women Talking.
Women Talking.
No, not that one.
It wasn't Woman.
This wasn't
Women
this
Talking?
past year. It was the year before, I believe.
Women Talking wasn't this past year.
Oh.
That was like 2 years ago.
Well, then this was probably 3 years ago.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We've had some blocked, and you're right. Usually it is ones that just happen to be a bad review. Yeah. But here's the thing. Look, there's only so much a company can do. It's the same as me getting ticked and wanting to throw shade at Disney. It's like, look, they can get mad all they want, or they can act like it doesn't matter, or they can go out there. I mean, HBO and all these companies, it wouldn't surprise me if they've got a whole slew of. I mean, look, you've got publicists and PR press. You've got.
They're all on Twitter being like, well, you're wrong. This
of course,
amazing.
You've got press. Like you hire that for a reason. Mm-hmm. The difference is what kind of noise is it making in the industry? Is it enough? And to me, look, if that's what you're hiring out, there's a difference between, it could be 100. You could hire 100 press release people to go out and write great stuff for your content. 100 people, hell, I'll even raise it up even higher. 1,000. You could hire 1,000 people. 1,000 people, whether they're harping or rave reviewing on something specific, is not going to amount to the same type of backlash or praise you're going to get from a swath of a fan base.
Yeah.
And that's going to be thousands more. Now, granted, I will say when it comes to smaller releases, of course, that'll be the case. You'll win the little victories.
Yeah.
But if it's any surprise to people that HBO or Disney or Paramount or Universal, any of the big studios, hire people to basically, powder their nose and make them look good.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Is that really a big surprise?
I think it does, though, now when I get online and I see comments from people that I'm like, did they watch the same movie?
Yeah.
Is this person, like, mentally challenged? Now I know. It's like, well, that's probably a paid shill by that company.
Right. Well, we went through this when we talked about Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
I mean, the same thing. They have unverified reviews and things like that.
Now, that is where I cross the line.
Yes. If you're paying people to write official reviews.
If it's some no-name, Johnny-come-lately in their mother's basement who Disney or whoever, HBO in this case, has hired out, or even if they somewhere buried deep in their bio say they work for Warner Brothers, and you can do some digging and find it out. If they are hired by them directly and they are the ones pushing out the content themselves on behalf of Warner Brothers, okay, fine. That's you're a hired hand. That's fine. If you are a third-party company and you're being bought and paid for
to write good reviews,
good reviews and to sway influence, or even say if you're IMDb and you're like, well, we'll give you a special deal because and like this stuff isn't going on, it is, but that's the thing. I'm willing to be more irate and more upset about instances like that, where you're literally supposed to be a third party that does not interact on behalf of taking up the side of the publishers, these big producers and production houses and distributors, but you're supposed to be on the side of informing the public unbiasedly.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, it's not like we don't know that, there's little spies getting in bed with the people at these companies. Of course there are. But, and there is peddling and influence. Of course there is. But if it's to such a degree like we found out about Rotten Tomatoes, it destroys the credibility of your entire platform.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And to me, it's like, I think that's what they were getting at here. I don't think it was as groundbreaking or shocking, because it's like, okay, who doesn't do that? Of course, it'd be the same as if we put out something. Are we going to rush to it and say, man, we really don't want y'all to watch this, it's pretty bad? It's like, no, if you're proud of your work and you want to promote it, well, then of course you're going to promote it any way possible, whether it's getting in forums and trying to convince people who may be on the fence. No, I loved this movie, go see it. It's like, okay, look, you're not sitting there saying, I'll give you a free ticket to go see it.
Yeah.
Now, the moment you do that, you're crossing the line.
Yeah.
You're not giving them a real chance here to be unswayed. But the moment that you're just sitting there and you're just peddling like a bunch of, okay, fine, so be it. You're a business. I understand it.
Well, it's like the product reviewers that you see on YouTube that are they always say, it's like, well, such and such company gave this product to me, but that is in no way.
My own.
Yeah, my opinion's my own, but then it's always a positive review. They hardly ever give it a bad review when the item's been given to them for free,
right,
or whatever. And I'm like, that makes me wonder. It's like, you're not going to give it a negative review if they're saying you can keep this.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I've always seen, Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD. He's got a huge following.
Sure.
He covers a lot of tech products, but a majority of it's Apple.
Mm-hmm.
He has big Apple reveals when they cover anything, any new release. And he's invited out to the events. He doesn't shy away from it.
Right.
But one thing I like that he does, and I think that makes him credible, is he's upfront about it, about that he's been invited and he's received a first look.
Mm-hmm.
But he's very thorough about his criticisms. And he's at least, you can tell he's constructive. He's not there to just tear down. And I think you're right. It's like, you can tell when it's like, okay, they're really overhyping this product.
Yeah.
And they are easily being convinced or swayed by whoever sent them this product.
Sure. But another thing that he does, and I've seen him do this, I've seen him mention the fact that he's paid for it, that they've bought it themselves.
Oh yeah,
like so it's that's different too. It's like if they got a ridiculous amount of money because of what he does for a living, he can buy an iPhone 15 Pro. He doesn't have to have Apple give it to him.
Absolutely.
And it's like when they make that clear, it's like, we bought one of these so that we could review it for you or whatever. Then if he comes out and gives a truthful review, I'm going to trust it more than if it was handed to him.
Yep.
Because it's not just, I'm trying to think of, I want to say it was one of his that I watched recently where, it was Apple ramping up for their October event to announce the new Macs.
Yeah.
And they sent him like this box with bourbon and snacks and all this kind of, ritzy stuff in it, and he's telling me, he's like, Apple doesn't normally do this unless it's going to be some kind of a big thing or whatever, and ended up them announcing the M3 MacBook Pros.
Yeah.
And but yeah, he was opening this box and talking about these, like, this is not something, it must be a big thing, but it's like, yeah, they're buttering him up.
Right.
But it's like, again, that's not going to sway he's honest about it.
Right.
He has the money to be honest about it.
And I was going to say,
some of the small guys don't have the money to be honest about it.
And to me, that's where it always comes down. The fine line you have to draw as an individual who's watching this to be convinced or to be deterred, but also I think for those who are making the content, I mean, us here, it's like, even if AMC, hey, we're out here, you want to buy a gold mine, you can also sponsor the Red Moon Podcast. We'd gladly take your money.
We're keeping you afloat right now.
But really, we'll still come on here and trash your theater if it's got a bad experience, or your floors are sticky, or the bathrooms aren't clean. That's right. And you got mold growing.
If I get
apart.
syphilis from your bathroom, I'm gonna leave a review.
You have a right to complain.
That's right.
I mean, health and safety used to be a nonpartisan issue, but no, I do think it's interesting because your credibility goes down the moment that I think your audience, whoever you are, catches on to what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't think this is any secret. I think people understand. of course Warner Brothers, Paramount, Universal, Disney, of course Disney. I mean, they're rested on their laurels partly because I think they've had such good faith with the public for so long that now when you enter into the equation this time that we're in now with social media, you're now figuring out like, okay, we got to play this game and we got to try to figure out how do we coerce people on our behalf. And you go on social media and it's like, you can't just throw up an ad that's just like, come see our movie and look at our wonderful trailer. It's like, no, people don't take to that. Depending on what platform you're on, it's like, you got to appeal to the people who use that platform and speak to those people who are, going to be swayed a certain kind of way. So I don't think there's any secret there. I just think, again, what it screams as disingenuous and what we'd all like to see as consumers is anytime we buy something or invest in something or go see a movie, we want to be entertained, but we also want our money's worth. We want to make sure that we're getting out of it what we put into it.
Yeah.
And what you have asked us to offer up in agreement to what it is you're offering. And when it comes up short, I don't think you're going to have any consumer who is shy about it admitting and expressing their disdain for that. So look, it's not any secret. Okay, so what? They're out there trying to combat negative reviews. What else is new? That's the digital age that we live in, and the internet age.
Are you not entertained?
I guess not. I've been rambling on for
Oh no,
HBO.
HBO.
All right, I wanted to talk about Nick Cage and AI. I really, we can go on to the Unique Weekly segment, but pretty much, I like what he said in terms of he just said it's inhumane. I wouldn't go that far. But I like the fact that he brought up the example
of the Flash
and how that had nothing to do with what he shot.
He said they shot him just standing there, like striking a Superman pose, basically, and then it turned into this entire fight with a spider.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Which it makes sense because they're poking fun of that was part of the original plot of his movie, so they were poking fun of that. But they could have at least said, "Hey, this is what we want to do. Are you okay with this?" Rather than just take some pictures, like shots of him on camera, and then just do whatever the heck they were doing. Like, it is kind of odd.
But
I agree.
I agree with his overall claim of he doesn't like the idea that he was like, there's no soul to it.
Yeah.
And I agree with him. I saw another good quote, believe it or not, from, name is slipping my mind. Transformers director, Michael Bay. Michael Bay had really
seen something intelligent.
I know. Surprisingly, it was insane. But he basically just said that, there's no life he said all AI is imitation, and he said what it's going to do is make people lazy, and
Coming from the king of CGI.
Now here's the thing: the king of CGI, but it takes an artist to not only create that, but also you're talking about a lot of practical effects that he does use.
Oh yeah, he does. He does do a lot of. I mean, really, I guess
lots of pyrotechnics.
Yes,
the only movies of his, I guess, are hugely CGI driven were the Transformers movies for understand. Like,
what else is he really known for?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he has other action movies. Like, I mean, you have the
Bad Boys
series,
and Pearl Harbor.
The Rock,
Pearl Harbor,
Armageddon,
The Rock.
Yeah.
The Rock's a good one.
I'm
just saying that may be his only good one. I don't mind the original Bad Boys, but
actually, you're right. All right, he's got a much more varied category. I was just trying to throw shade at him.
They're all still like action, explosion movies.
But I like what he said because look, and that is true. That's what we know about AI is it's going to get better. But he basically was like, it's going to make artists lazy, and AI can only imitate what it knows is based on what we consider to be real.
It's like, is this what we want the pinnacle of filmmaking to be? Because if we don't improve, then AI is always going to have this as the bar that's set.
Yeah, right.
It's like, it doesn't know anything better because we're not pushing limits.
And here's the thing. I think that's where the tool and ingenuity of real creators comes into play is when you use it as a tool in your tool bag, there's nothing wrong with that. When you use it as a crutch to lean on, then you got a problem.
One of the things that concerns me about the Nick Cage thing is money. I'm like, they paid him a certain amount of money for him to just stand still and shoot a couple of photos or a quick video, but they used his likeness in a way that's a good 30 or 40 seconds long with him fighting a spider as Superman, and I'm kind of like, did he get paid for all of that likeness?
Well, it was funny because when he spoke about it in the article, he even says he's like, he didn't equate that to AI. But
he said he knew it was CGI.
He knew it was CGI, but I'm like, but who knows what part of that was AI.
He said, like, because they de-aged him. So he's like, it was deep fake technology, which is sometimes they use AI to do. So he's like, he realizes that this wasn't prominently, like, something that was most likely prominently AI, but it's still kind of bordered on that where he was just like, it's kind of weird that they just took what I did and turned it into something completely different.
When they pitched this to him and said, hey, we'd like to have you, come back and do this cameo because it's going to drive fans crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, you're just going to have to stand here. We're going to take some shots or whatever. And then the next thing you know, he watches the movie and he's in this huge battle with a giant spider. It's like, I didn't get paid for that.
Right.
I got paid to stand here in a room and have my picture taken a couple of times. So that's my question is like, how even if it's not 100% AI, at what point do we get to where an actor just stands there and gets their photo taken and paid $20,000 and then they have
it's funny that we didn't really make it a headline this week because not much more has come out, but recently the stirs of the SAG-AFTRA strike have been coming up, and one of the basically the main people from the producer side who've been at the table, Netflix, Disney, I'm forgetting the other two big names, but they all came to the table and they were like, here's our final offer, last best final offer, this is it. And SAG-AFTRA bit back and we're like, nope, this doesn't cover our terms and agreement in terms of AI and again, using people's likeness, and we want to see more terms on this, blah, 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 blah. So, of course, a deal wasn't made, so that's why we're not really reporting on it.
Yeah, we don't.
But the interesting part of that is that seems to be what it is that they are, for better or for worse. I mean, look, we can get into the nitty-gritty of who is this really affecting, because you have some low-tier, up-and-comers that this is really affecting the longest. I mean, it's not your multimillionaire big stars, your A-listers, that are being, really sucked dry here the longer the strike goes on. It's like you're only hurting the industry as a whole and ultimately yourselves and any leg to stand on. But granted, you may say it's a noble cause and what they're fighting for. But based on what it is their criteria specifically is, I don't know. And when it does come to name, image, and likeness, and in terms of how do you use that, when you could theoretically walk into a booth, I know this is done in video games because this is how they do a lot of not only performance capture, but to capture the essence of the actor to put them in the game. Mm-hmm. And you walk in, there's like 80 5D Mark IIs surrounding you, and they all snap a picture to get a 3D scope of your entire body to make a 3D image within the computer. And then you do these different poses on your face, and now it's kind of like, okay, we can do whatever we want with you. Yeah. So, I mean, at what point is acting and adding your essence or likeness and then maybe doing something slightly different, especially for your unknowns?
Bless you.
Excuse me. Woo! Allergy season. I love it. But no, it is interesting because it's like, what happens when they walk into, a room and they get their pictures taken, and then it's like, okay, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea who this is going to. I don't know what I just signed my rights off to. Is this going to end up being used in some way, form, or fashion that I didn't approve of?
Well, it could be used in. I mean, to me, it's like, again, if they, and I don't know how this works. It may be different, but it's like if they come in and pay you a flat fee for your likeness, and then it gets used in 3 movies that make $100 million each, then
that's what.
You got screwed.
That's the
it's true.
Crispin Glover way back with Back to the Future. That was one of the lawsuits he had, was he wouldn't come back for the sequels, so then they used prosthetics to make the actor look like Crispin Glover for Back to the Future Part 2, and Crispin Glover sued them. I don't remember if he was successful or not, but he sued them because he said they used his likeness, like it intentionally made prosthetics to make the actor they replaced him with look like him, so that he would be in both movies.
Are you freaking kidding me?
No.
Because I didn't know that wasn't Crispin Glover in Back to the Future 2.
Nope, that is not Crispin Glover. It's a guy with prosthetics on.
I thought they just made him look older, just like they made what's-her-face look older.
I used to think that too, and then I read this whole story about like Crispin Glover sued them because...
That's crazy, because the dude's sounds and mannerisms and everything are just like
He's spot on, and that's why he sued them. That's why he sued them, because he's like,
That's crazy.
Talk about, you didn't even need AI.
That.
You just need prosthetics.
Yeah.
That's
and
crazy.
he said, I didn't didn't agree to do the movie, yet you still made the actor look exactly like me.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
I did not know that, dude.
So yeah, the story and the continued, back and forth with AI in the industry, and just there's Nick Cage's 2 cents. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, sometimes Nick Cage he's a wild card.
I'm looking forward to his new movie. I think we will review that one.
That one does look good.
What is it?
His last big movie was really good with him and
his likeness.
Renfield.
He played
Renfield
himself.
was great.
yeah.
Oh, not Renfield.
Not
Renfield.
The weight,
the unbearable weight of
massive
massive
talent.
Yeah.
And this one's something dreams.
Something about with dreams.
But let's go ahead and roll our vices open. Let's get into it.
Okay.
It's funny. I understand it's vices, and we talked about it before the show, but it's like on your notes, it still says relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't change it.
It says fun Halloween dates.
Dream.
that was
last. Yeah.
that
Dream
was
scenario.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was.
Dream scenario.
That's the movie.
Okay.
I just wanted to know because it does look good.
It does.
I mean, did you have a fun Halloween date, Sean?
No, I didn't.
I mean,
It was cold as balls, and
I loved that.
it
was
we
freaking.
walked around
It felt
for
like Halloween.
We walked around for like 30 minutes.
Colder.
And
It was
the kids
30
were freezing,
degrees.
so we went inside.
It got in the 30s. That's a little colder than Halloween.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind it. But yeah,
it was brisk. It was brisk.
It was
more than brisk.
It was more than brisk.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we're in the 60s and 70s this week.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Ridiculous.
I
don't like that either.
50s and 40s is
That's
Halloween
fall.
to me.
That's
Yeah,
fall.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
It dipped down into the 30s, and I was like, that's a little
Halloween. It was like January temperatures, and I was just
I
like,
wouldn't
this
go
sucks.
that far.
It was
The
38.
kids had to wear jackets over their costumes.
Yeah,
it wasn't even
you couldn't
fun.
even see their costumes. They had these thick jackets on. It was 38 degrees outside.
I was out there in my jacket, sitting there handing out candy. Little chill.
Well, yeah, you didn't have, if you weren't walking around in it.
Well, the wind, it's worse if you're not walking around. You get the wind chill blowing.
But you would get walking and then you sweat and the wind blows and then you're even colder.
No, that's even better.
No, you're even colder.
If I'm out there and I'm walking around working up a sweat, then I want
I'm
that
someone
cold
who
air.
loves every
Brandon
aspect of. No, I'm someone who loves the cold, and I just don't. I've never heard him enjoy the cold.
Walking around and seeing the kids.
That's
what
true.
I'm saying.
Well, I mean that always.
Normally, Brandon
Happy
doesn't like the
Halloween.
cold
He's
as
like-
much as us. That's why I was surprised because normally
don't.
we're like we like to
Here's the
sleep
thing.
when it's freezing.
I like it to feel like it's the temperature that it's supposed to be at that time of the year, and I'm not saying 30
Oh
degrees.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't 30, 38, but
and that's what I'm
it
saying.
wasn't freezing.
It wasn't, and I don't think it
Freaking
was.
cold.
It was freezing cold. I'm just saying. I think it was. It's colder than the last few years that I've seen on Halloween.
yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, the temperature finally broke. We're gonna stay in these temps. And then this week hit, and I was like, are you freaking serious? Like I'm walking around in shorts outside today. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I had to pop all my windows open because I wasn't going to turn the AC back on.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's
Yeah.
getting warm in here.
I had to. I turned the
It's gonna
AC
get down
back
to
on
58
Sunday
tonight. So
It was like
Yeah.
72,
Well, that's
and I
the
said,
thing.
I can't take
At
it.
night, it's still in the 50s. So because tomorrow it's supposed to be like 77, and that's the one where I'm like, even though it gets cold at night, like I don't
it's
know
not
if
cool enough.
It's like I don't know if I want to. I don't want to turn my AC back on, but I can't do like 77 degrees in my house.
Okay.
ridiculous.
Vices.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're way off. Today.
Yeah, it's,
Let's get
How
it.
do you look? I didn't lose very well just now. How well do you lose? I obviously am being a contrarian here, but no, let's talk about how well do we lose on our vices topic.
That's how Keith loses.
That's it.
I don't. It's funny because I don't get like it depends. As far as like something competitive, I don't really get competitive. So if I lose, I don't care. Like if we're playing a game or a sport or whatever, I'm just like I'm not that invested to begin with. So if I don't win, I don't give a crap. Now if I'm watching sports like a team I like and they lose, I'll cuss up a storm and be like, "You."
So you don't handle other people's failure.
Yeah, I don't like. What I don't.
Handles his own just fine.
It's like I handle my own failure just fine, but if you fail, like if I'm expecting something, if you fail, if you have failed me, then you're a disappointment.
Get it together.
That's it.
But on the opposite side of that, not at the competition side, but like daily things like my job or maybe something like the relationship. If I feel like I have failed in an aspect like that, like I've let somebody down or I made a mistake in my job, that I don't get angry like yelling at the Green Bay Packers because they're idiots. I actually get a little bit more. if I fail at something at my job, like I feel like I really messed up on something, I will kind of take it poorly at first and kind of like be quiet or reflective for a good part of the day, because I'm like, man, I didn't mean to do that, and I feel like crap about it. But then by the end of the day, I've kind of pet myself up to, well, that's okay. We're going to learn from this, and I'm going to be like 10 times better at it the next time. So I guess in that way, like I don't handle loss terribly. It just depends on the situation, I guess.
Sean, what about you?
That. I can see all of those things. I think only thing I would add to that, because I can relate to those things. Sometimes when I fail, I get defensive, and I think that's something that a lot of people tend to do too. Or
I've done that.
It's
yeah,
not like
sure.
it's not like even necessarily like I'm blaming. I don't want to say I'm blaming other people, because technically I am. But it's just one of those things. Maybe I blame like the circumstances more than anything.
Yeah.
It's just like even if it's like we're playing a game, like if me and you and Neil are on, because Brandon doesn't ever join, so I don't include him.
I'm a loser.
But it's like like it's like if we're playing Call of Duty or something, and another team gets the best of us, and we were just this close to getting on the helicopter and escaping with all of our loot. Like it's not personal or anything.
No,
like
not at all.
But I'm just like, I'm always like, God damn it, if Keith would have just ran faster, or if Neil would have stayed with us and not ran off on his own. And it's like, no, it was like definitely probably my fault too. But it's like I always get into that mode where it's just like, oh, if everybody else would have pulled their weight, we would have had this in the bag. And it was like, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. I realize it later, but it's like in the moment, I'm not like mad. I'm just disappointed in everybody but me.
Yep. I don't get that way unless someone like specifically calls me out for something, and then I'll get defensive.
Yeah.
Like, well, you didn't do this.
Yeah,
and they're like, well, hold on here. And
it's
then,
like we're gonna start throwing slings and arrows.
No.
And sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not. Like I'll be defensive if I feel like I've done nothing wrong, and I'll defend myself. But there's times also where if someone singles me out and I get defensive, I'll think later and be like, you know what? They were right. I was in the wrong there.
But you never follow up, do you?
Well, it depends.
It depends on the situation.
Depends on the person. No, I mean, it depends on, I guess, how much I care about the person. Like if it's somebody I don't give a crap about, it's like they were right, but I don't care about them, so I'm never going to apologize.
I'm never going to acknowledge that they were right.
Not that I'm never going to apologize, but it's one of those things like if you're an acquaintance that I only see or talk to like a few times a week, I probably just don't think to come back and apologize, which isn't great either. But yeah, if you're like my family or close friend,
I kind of break it up in like trivial stuff. I mean, to me, there are macro and micro issues.
Yeah.
And in a way, I'm like, there's macro stuff that I feel like I'm a little bit more timid on, because I'm still being a sore loser, but I'm willing to admit, okay, I've done some wrong, and I'm going to own my part in this. And then there's other micro stuff that I'm like, I'm downright just vicious, and like, if I lose, I'm just being competitive, and I'm just pissed off, and I'm mad. And I think about like the most recent stupid petty thing was when we were at the lake, and I kept losing in Smash Brothers.
That was
like,
great.
This game is hilarious. This sucks. I was like, I don't own the game. Keith, you own the game.
That was great. Yes.
And so
me and Dylan Shaw were dying.
It's like, dang, he's really mad about this video game.
I was pissed.
When it comes to video games, I've seen video games get the best of Brandon more often than I think anything else.
They do, and honestly,
they definitely touch that nerve.
They test my patience. And I mean, this is coming from younger days when
I thought you were joking.
Oh,
I didn't know
pissed.
you were genuinely pissed.
I mean, obviously I wasn't, because literally, it didn't take us till Mario Kart, and I was.
Oh no, you were fine. Yeah, you weren't that pissed,
yeah.
but you were getting aggravated for sure.
Yeah, I do remember the whole.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I don't even own this game, and I'm like,
I was like, it's because I don't own it.
It's because I don't own this game.
He's like, I don't know.
Neil doesn't own it either, but he's kicking your ass. He's never played it in his life.
I was real ticked about.
Yeah, well, hey, that's what we can all play online.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. We can play Smash, but no, I'm like,
Neil doesn't have a Switch. So
it's time to pony up the dough.
Well, he might as well wait for the Switch 2 now.
Switch 2.
Don't get it now. It's cheap. Wait till they drop the price. Wait till the Switch 2 and then get the old Switch. And then none of us, we're all poor. We can't afford the new one.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep the old.
I'm probably going to get the new
one. He's going to get it.
But no, like we were sitting there and it's like, yeah, games, I don't know what it is. It's just like, it's in the moment and it's testing my nerve. I mean, it goes back to even older. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm a wuss and a pansy when it comes to even playing like older games versus modern. Modern are way more handholdy.
Mm-hmm.
They give you way more chances.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
to me, there's part of that I like because
you suck and you want to have your hand held. No.
that's one way to put it. To me, I like trial and error.
Yeah.
And to me, a game is supposed to be fun and escape, and you're supposed to be able to try things out until they work, and you're like, oh, I figured it out.
Yeah.
And when a game is very punishing because it's punishing you for trial and error, and what I mean by this is like back in the day, it used to be you could go throughout a whole level and spend like 15, 20 minutes, and that doesn't seem like a lot of time, but when you're working on like one mission and then all of a sudden you die at the very end and you go all the way back to the beginning, it's like, I just wasted 15 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get that back. It's gone.
Yeah, Elden Ring.
And a reason,
Mega Man.
There you
Mega
go.
Man is one of the hardest games ever made.
But actually, you're perfectly bringing up the reason why I don't play those games.
Right.
I love Elden Ring.
I can't. I mean, and I learned that a long time
Mega
ago.
Man does tick me off.
Mega Man will piss you
yes,
off.
Yes, it did.
See?
Gosh, it pisses
and
me off.
there's times where I'm sitting there and I'm like, this game is cheap. It's garbage.
Yeah.
It's cheating. And then I'll watch other people play online and I'll see them go through it and I'm like, they're freaking God's got their fingers
get good.
in control.
Get good.
Got their fingers.
And I was like, this is BS.
That's what they do right before they pray. They're just like, Heavenly Father, take control of my hands.
It's the
guide
age.
my thumbs in thy direction.
And he does.
Yeah.
Or maybe they sold their soul to the devil. And
Or
that's
they're
how they
using
do it.
cheat codes.
I'm just saying it's that age-old gamer slogan. Get good.
Get good.
Get good.
I haven't heard that in forever.
That,
Yeah.
that,
I don't know if I've heard it at all.
Soulsborne's players say that to everybody.
Get good.
You know,
Get
it's like I can't play Elden Ring. It's too hard. Get good.
Get good. It's like in Speed. Don't get dead.
Yeah.
But no, I learned a long time ago that I try to abstain from those types of instances.
He doesn't play Brave Fencer Musashi anymore.
That's right. that was a long time ago. But even when it comes to like whether it's sports or something, like I'll get competitive, but not to the point where I'm like, it's something I never learned, and I don't know why in video games, but I did in other things where I'm just like, I mean, it's the same with like when it comes to video editing and stuff. Like there's times where I'll get frustrated because something isn't working the way I want it to.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I got to get up and walk away. I mean, there was literally a time, I remember we were doing 26 years in high school when I was working on the DVD, and I pounded my hands on the desk because something wasn't working, and my parents yelled up at me, and they said, you're done. You're done. Sit. They were like, do not walk over to that computer. They were like, we're listening. You do not get on that computer tonight. They're like, you're finished. And, like, they pulled me away from the computer because I was getting so worked up. And look, it was a crime of passion. I was passionate about it. But I did. I needed to be pulled away. And there are times where I get way more frustrated about stupid, piddly stuff that I look back on and I'm like, that was dumb.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been that frustrated about it. And then there's other stuff that it's like I can graciously lose and be like, you know, it didn't really matter. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know. And then there's politics. And we're not going to get into politics. We're done with the show. We are done with the show for the evening. That is sometimes.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate all the love. As always, right there at the bottom of your screen, you can like, share, subscribe on all of our social media accounts. Yes, that includes Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, Red Moon Tweet on X, and Red Moon Productions on YouTube/Rumble. Join us there. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all the love. And, of course, there is that old-fashioned way. That old-fashioned way of getting in touch with us. Keith?
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Shiver up my spine.
Yeah.
I thought Halloween was over. Whew.
Halloween.
That's right, guys. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com. I think next week
Just go ahead and say it.
Oh, Lord.
we got to review it. Look, it's not going to be a blockbuster, but it's still the biggest movie coming out.
Okay.
It's going to be number one. We're going to review The Marvels. We got to review it. It pains me.
I thought maybe if I just name dropped the holdovers enough times, you would relent.
Maybe that'll be the week after if there's nothing else.
No. The week after is the Hunger Games. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. We don't have to see that. I was just
Got the Hunger Games, Thanksgiving, and Trolls.
Are we doing Trolls? We got to
can agree on
discuss
that.
this month.
We'll
is
figure.
just kinda,
Look, we got this weekend down. The Marvels were good. The
Yep.
weekend after, we'll figure
figure
it
it
out.
out.
weekend
But-
after is Napoleon.
That's right. Napoleon. I think Napoleon.
That's the 22nd. We have the Marvels this weekend, the weekend after, and then Napoleon.
Maybe we'll do the holdovers next week, and then we'll do Napoleon.
Okay.
May do that. We'll think about it.
Yeah.
But Neil, thank you. Thank you
Yes,
for the beer.
it is good.
Appreciate it.
It was delicious.
Very good.
I
drank it all, and I'm feeling pretty good. Pretty good. I'm not going to lose it all tonight. I won.
Show me the money.
Alrighty, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And you said it at the beginning.
Yeah, but that was the only time.
That's it. Never again.
It's over.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.